All right, everybody, welcome back to the Darkest Fears podcast. And today I am joined by Ted Batt, and we are going to be discussing The Beyond by Lucio Fulci.
Yes.
Yes. And I am so excited to get into this movie with you, man. I think when I first heard about this movie, I was still a teenager. And I had a friend of mine that was listening to Necrophagia at the time. So definitely got an introduction into them when he popped in Black Blood Vomitorium, and I first heard "And You Will Live in Terror."
Warlock. Because of you, this hotel and this town will be cursed forever. From the past, and see your survival. And you will be pain, rule, 36, fatal action, upon more souls in your
Yeah, man, I have been a fan of this movie for so many years. I can't even like begin to say like how much I love this movie.
Yeah, same. I found out about this movie a little bit different. A friend of mine gave me this like back in the day. Like, okay, I'm 40. I'm going to be 42 this year, so I think I'm a little bit older than you. But before internet really took off, you would get these like mail order, like Xerox catalogs and stuff. And a friend of mine gave me one of these, and I remember seeing all these movies that I love now in there. Like they had like the cover art, synopsis about the movie and everything. Uh, so that's where I first found out about the Beyond. Is before I even knew how to even watch it. It was in this mail order catalog, and then I finally found uh, a copy on VHS, probably when I was in my late teens, and I've probably owned this movie on every format multiple times over. My current copy of it is the Grindhouse releasing 3-disc Blu-ray, which
Oh,
which is
nice.
phenomenal. So first time I saw it was on a grainy VHS, which kind of added to the atmosphere of it. But seeing it
Yeah,
seeing it crisp, clean, and clear now is really a treat.
yeah. Me personally, actually I bought the alternate version of the movie, the Seven Doors of Death.
Okay.
I got that at Walmart, like I don't know how many years ago, for like $5.
Yeah.
I think like the difference in that is like the beginning scene is in color,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I think some of the names are like misspelled,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
I had that on DVD too, and that was actually a good cut of it, if I remember correctly. Because I mean that company that put that out was one of those low budget, $5 Walmart bin type companies, but the print on that was actually really good, and the cut and everything. I think it was uncut.
Oh, yeah, I love the cover of it.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like I was just reading into the movie, and like there's so many things you can go into this movie, but you know, when I first heard the opening to "And You Will Live in Terror," I was instantly intrigued.
Yeah.
Because it's the opening scene when they're when the mob is basically like ripping fucking what's his face, what's the main character's name again? Shrek.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, but yeah, they're ripping him apart, and he's screaming, and they say, "You ungodly warlock."
Oh,
And I've just been instantly a fan. That like this was my first Fulci film, and I've been in love with Fulci ever since.
yeah. Fulci is definitely in my top 3. I mean, even like my band is like very worshipful. Like I have this right here. This is Soprogenous vomit bag that we did, and
Yes.
uh, like the zombies from Fulci Zombie and everything. So, and like even my guitar picks, I have the infamous zombie face from Fulci Zombie on it. It's like that's like my main shit is Fulci. There's
Yeah, which I was actually going to get into is like, with your band and everything with Soprogenous, you guys being from Kansas, and I was just going to kind of ask you guys like, if Fulci was like a huge influence on the music itself,
def
which I kind of get, because I've listened to you guys and I kind of get that feeling.
yeah, definitely. At least from my point of view, movies are a big, if not bigger, influence on my music than anything else. Um, just because they just, I don't know, they give you like a certain feeling, and like with this band, like it's the feeling that you get from watching like a Fulci movie. Uh, I want to project that feeling like into the music, like that feeling of dread and just disturbing dread, I guess is the best way to describe it.
And yeah, I mean, you definitely get that from the music for sure. If anybody hasn't checked them out, check out Soprogenous from Kansas. Um, you know, awesome gore grind. I definitely listen to you guys quite a bit. Um, you know, um, and with the music and everything, I don't know how it coincides with Fulci, but it's always like metal bands that are so drenched in Fulci. I don't know why, but it's like a cult
Yeah, it's
following.
just
Um,
Fulci's just so metal. I mean, just the atmosphere and the just what the fuckness of his movies. I don't know, man. It's the fucking creepy ass zombies. Uh, for me, man, the Beyond. It's like a hallucination or like a crazy nightmare, like put on film. You know how like there's all this like uh AI art that people are making with all this stuff. It's almost like that, like where it's like
it's
he
yeah,
extracted
100%.
like the nightmare from the mind and like put it on film.
Yeah, because I was reading up on it, and that's definitely how this movie plays out because of the randomness of some scenes and just the outright absurdity of how some of the violence happens. Like with the spider
Oh yeah,
scene where the guy's getting torn apart by the spiders, and it's just like so nonchalant, but it's like it's a slow process, and it's like who would just lay there and let these spiders just do this? But it's like, no, this is gonna
yeah.
happen because it's like a fucking
Yeah,
nightmare.
well, that's what we're in a nightmare. If you've ever had a nightmare, just shit just happens. Like you're just
Yeah, it you have no control over it.
happen. I'll tell you, like honestly, like I still get like dread like watching this movie. Um, one of the biggest, most disturbing things about this movie is fucking Joe the plumber. Like when
Yes.
they fuck his eyes up and like he returns and he's got no eyes, just the way he looks is so fucking
Yes.
nightmare inducing.
Me and Mike were actually talking about that on the last episode that we just recorded for the Deadbeat at Dawn.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how like so good he was at doing corpses.
Yes.
And like that scene when Joe the plumber is his corpse just like comes up out of the water after the basement's flooded, and you just see the different color of blood just like coming from his eyes, and
Yeah.
it's just so nasty and
It,
gruesome and
to this day,
ugh.
it still has me shook to this day. You know, and I'm 41 years old and I've been watching horror for over half my life. And that shit still gives me fucking nightmares. But cool
100%.
as fuck though, man. It looks so great. Like, and the fact that was like 81, they probably made it like an 80. You know, that's still terrifying. That's more terrifying than anything recently I've seen in the last 20 years.
Right. And like one of the characters is the blind girl that that just kind of just randomly pops up in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's another thing that just kind of adds to like the dream state of
Yeah,
this movie. She just like, oh, I'm just gonna go pick up this person who's standing in the middle of a road,
yeah,
and she's not gonna move out of my way, but I'm like really nervous, like I'm gonna hit this person, and then I stop. Nope, she's gonna get in my car,
yeah.
and we're gonna take her to the hotel, and she's going to give me this little bit of a backstory. She's blind and she looks creepy as hell, and it's just like, so it's like a dream,
Yeah.
like it just keeps this anonymity like throughout the whole thing. You don't know what the hell is going on.
I dreams like that where I'm just driving along and then a motherfucker just appears out of nowhere, and then they're riding with me, and then I'm taking. It's like it's. I think that's because a lot of people that don't like the Beyond, they say, well, it doesn't make any sense, and I'm like, I don't know if it's supposed to make sense because the most terrifying thing that you can experience is a nightmare, and nightmares.
Right.
So
Nightmares, yeah, nightmares, usually when you have them, they don't make sense.
not at all.
And I think Fulci, when he made this movie, I don't know if that was his pure intention, because I read somewhere, when they were getting ready to shoot this film, that they were actually wanting to make like a comic movie,
Okay.
sort of, but it ended up turning into this. And I don't know if it was like something where it was just like unintentional,
Yeah.
and he just like made this masterpiece, like just pulling it straight out of his ass, or if it was just something that he was just making up along the way, and he just knew that this vision was coming together, and he just he just had to see it through.
Yeah. I mean, I mean that is possible. I mean, as a fellow musician, artist, whatever, you know, when you intend to do something and it doesn't always come out the way you plan, and it almost comes out better in ways. Like if you go about writing a song
Right.
or whatever, and it just for some reason it comes out different and it almost comes out better, and it's like I didn't intend this to happen, but this just kind of organically happened. So I mean that could quite possibly be the case for the Beyond. um
Right. And the main actress, in this movie, I'll pull up her name, Katarina McCall.
yeah,
She had never really been in movies before, before she did Gates of Hell.
yeah,
And when she signed on to do these trilogies, she was actually hoping these movies would never get released in the States.
yeah,
I was watching an interview with her, and she was like, "Oh, I just kind of just hoped that this would never get released. It would never see the light of day." But it did. And then, this huge cult following happened, and then all this success happened. And I think it kind of boosted a career for her in the future. Even though she didn't do a lot of work, but she's really famous for these movies.
yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about horror is that it's kind of the kind of unloved child of movies, but the fan base is so rabid and so dedicated, and like you go to like these conventions or whatever, and these actresses and actors that really didn't have much of a career, they have all these fans that want to meet them and are just,
Yeah.
oh, you're when you did the Beyond or whatever, that meant so much to me. So that's kind of a weird thing. I know Linda Blair for years was very much didn't want to be associated with the horror shit and all that, and then years later, I think now she's kind of embraced it and she goes to the conventions and everything. And it's just like, I guess as an actor you want to be taken seriously, you don't want to kind of be a one trick pony or whatever, just known for horror movies, but I mean, I think the horror, you don't have like people who are into romantic comedies that are as passionate about those as horror fans.
Yeah, and I think like with low budget movies like these were, um, there's definitely a level of great acting as well. Um, you know, I know they didn't think it was a great movie when they were first doing it because they were just starting out. But you see the acting in this movie and how dreamlike everything is and how they kind of follow through with it as well. It just makes it so wonderful. And and the longevity of this movie, I think, speaks for itself.
Mm.
And I never stopped watching this movie. I've seen it. I can't even count. I've seen it like maybe hundreds and hundreds of times
Yeah,
over the years, and I think this is Fulci's best film in my opinion,
I agree.
right next to Gates of Hell, because Gates of Hell is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes.
But this one, it was my first Fulci film, and I put it right at the top.
Yeah, I agree. I believe it's his best film. I do agree that Gates of Hell is probably the second. A few years ago, I got a chance to see Gates of Hell in the theater. Um, this filmmaker, Leif Yonker, lives here, and he's known for making this cult zombie vampire movie, kind of a splatter movie, back in the early '90s called The Darkness. So he's kind of like our local horror like god around here because he does a lot of screenings of like older horror movies at the theater. He's worked uh, really hard with the local theater chain here, so he can do these showings. And every October he does the what's called the Old Town Horror Fest, where every week he shows a different horror movie. So that year I got to see Gates of Hell, and then the next night I got to see Demons, which
Oh,
a
nice.
movie that takes place
Yeah.
in a movie theater. Seeing it in a movie theater is like a whole nother.
Yeah, Demons is a great movie.
Yeah,
Demons 1 and 2, I think, are both really great films.
love them.
Yeah, I mean, like even the movies like Night of the Demons. Night of the Demons are great films as well. I loved the second one so much.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah, I still haven't seen the third.
But yeah, the third one, I haven't seen the third one either. I don't think I saw the remake of the Night of the Demons with what's her face? Can't remember. She was from the American Pie movies.
Oh, Shannon Elizabeth.
Shannon Elizabeth, yeah. It was, and it also had Edward Furlong in it, which is hilarious. And he looked super like strung out.
Yeah. Motherfucker 8 years. It's like motherfucker's like in his 40s, but he still kind of looks like a teen. I don't know.
He looks better now, at least. But yeah, he looked really rough in that movie.
Hopefully they got him some help. So
for sure. But yeah, with this movie though, I think one of the most pivotal scenes that kind of like stick out in my mind is the acid scene. It's so grueling and so gross, and like I said, this movie is so random at points.
yeah,
It just comes out of nowhere, and I don't know who would keep a huge like beaker of acid just sitting somewhere for it to be knocked over. But man, like I said, it plays out like a nightmare. It doesn't matter. Then the whole process just plays out in front of you, and you just see the skin just melt away, and it's just so gross.
That's one of my favorite things about horror movies is any movie that has a scene where people are like melting is like one of my favorite things. Like I love The Beyond is, of course, you have that scene. I love Street Trash because that whole movie is just fucking bums melting. Fucking Slime City, um, The Incredible Melting Man, Body Melt. Like that's like one of my favorite horror tropes or
Yeah.
genres. I guess it's just any movie where people are fucking melting. I just love. So
I think like I was talking to Mike, like one of my hugest fears is like nuclear war. And just watching like the show Chernobyl, if you watch that,
I've
I've seen it like 5 times.
really,
And the scene, and there's a scene, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's melting in that movie too. Like you see people like just, it's just, and it's so grueling and so horrible to see. And I like, that's one of my hugest fears is like, okay, well, I'm just chilling out in Dayton, Ohio. What's going to happen if a bomb goes off?
yeah,
Well, hell, we're all fucked.
yeah,
Like, even if it doesn't happen near us, the fallout is going to fuck you up anyway because you'll get radiation poisoning, and then,
oh, yeah,
well, maybe in a couple of years you'll die of cancer.
yeah.
Like the movie Threads is like one of my all-time favorite movies of all time to see, and because it's my hugest
Yeah.
fear, like play out in front of you, and it's like real as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to always fear like nuclear war, just because growing up in the '80s and that Cold War shit, and the threat of nuclear war, and then I don't know, I don't really think about it anymore, just because I'm like, if it happens, like at least I'm not the only one that's gonna get fucking vaporized. I mean, it's just pretty much everybody, so it's pretty much over for everybody. So it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you can't control anything.
yeah,
And it's a completely out of control situation. I think that's why I fear it so much.
yeah,
But and plus, how painful if you don't get it completely like like
yeah.
evaporated in 2 seconds, like
I,
how painful everything
I
is
feel like
that you go through.
I feel like a nuclear blast would like fuck you up to where it's like I feel like you wouldn't even feel it. Like you'd be dead before like it really even hit you. Like I feel like that's how powerful it is. Like I remember seeing some documentary about uh, Hiroshima, and they said that like it was so powerful that like people's shadows um like pretty much printed onto like the streets and stuff. Like there's still like just shadows of people who got vaporized in the blast that would just it like a photograph or something. Like it just
Right.
uh I thought that was one of the craziest things I ever heard, because it's like, wow, that's fucking powerful.
Yeah. If I could ask, what is probably your favorite scene in this movie?
Probably the zombie siege at the towards the end. I like that. I like um I like the when she pulls the shit out of the like bathtub or whatever that is down in the basement, and then
Yeah.
it just drains, and then there's motherfucker right there just in the oh god, that's scared the shit out of me. Uh,
I think my all-time favorite scene in this movie is the end.
yeah,
Um I think it's one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, because they go to the I call it the void,
yeah, the
and
beyond,
basically, yeah, the beyond, and they turn and you see their eyes go white,
yeah,
just like the blind girl in the movie,
yeah,
and then there's nothing else for them anymore. They're stuck, and it's like just like, well, complete
yeah,
hopelessness.
yeah. That's crazy. They said that those contact lenses that they wore, like when they wore those, like they couldn't see shit. It was like just dark. So I
Wow.
kind of feel, that might be a fear right there. Is having to wear those white contact lenses where you can't see anything and you're trying to act in a movie and take direction. It's like, man, that must have been kind of scary just to not see anything.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that would add it. I mean, that adds more to that character, the blind girl going throughout the whole movie.
Yeah,
That, I mean, that's more authentic to me than
yeah,
just like having them say that she couldn't see anything.
really couldn't.
So yeah, I mean, that adds more to it to me. Well, man, I am gonna have to cut this episode a little short. I really enjoyed talking to you so far. I mean, we may do even a part 2 in the future.
Yeah, man.
Because there's so much to talk about in this movie. Because there's so much to delve into. There's so many great scenes. You know, we may even do like a compilation scene thing where we can get together, watch some scenes together, and just kind of talk about them.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
but yeah, I've enjoyed talking to you, Ted, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, I've had a great time, man. Anytime, let's do it again. Even if you want to do another movie sometime, let's fucking do it. I'm always down, man.
Definitely. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining me on Darkest Fears podcast, and you all have a good day.